Episode 71, E3 2019. You're listening to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So, switch on your brain and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about E3, which is the biggest gaming convention of the year, and all the big companies come to the convention and present their newest games, newest technologies. It's very exciting for anyone in the gaming community. So today we've got myself, Daniel Grove. We've also got on the show with us Nate Gunn.
Hey.
And Angela Brock.
Hello.
So last year we did our very first E3 episode, and that is episode 21. So exactly 50 episodes ago, Nate discovered. That's crazy.
I can't believe we've had 50 conversations since then.
Crazy.
Yeah, wow. We're getting close to 100 episodes, and I need to think of something awesome to do. I have no idea what to do at the moment.
Episode 100. Yay. That's it.
We'll just play every episode back to back in
my
one episode.
God.
In 30 seconds.
Okay, I need to calculate how many hours that would be.
Too many.
Okay, well, let's get started. Angela, I think you've got the first one with EA Play, right?
Yep, EA Play started off this year's E3, and I don't know why they decided to do that, because EA is very much not the best option to open up anything, in my opinion.
Last year, they proved that very well.
Yeah, EA last year was bad, like one of
Dude,
the worst
so bad.
conferences. I don't know why they started off this year again, but this year they did it a little differently, and they did like a 3-hour live stream outside. They had a new host.
Goodness.
I think from IGN, and apparently he was super hyped up the whole time.
He's definitely a people person. He's like, come on.
Yeah. They showcased, I think, 6 different games, and they gave half-hour blocks to each of them. So I'm like, no,
Wow.
I'm not watching all of this, especially since
That's
half
a
of
lot.
it was just expansions for different things, like Apex Legends Season 2 and expansions to The Sims 4. I'm not watching a half hour for all that.
Can't believe Sims is still around.
I know. I didn't know they were still making expansions for that either. It's crazy. But the only thing that caught my eye, and I think all of us were interested in this, is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. They finally showed something for it.
It was breathtaking.
We'll get to that later. Something that's not quite what was breathtaking this year.
What you just said was way less cringy and more professional than last year's actual presentation of the game.
Yeah. Last year, they didn't show anything. And it was just the weirdest, most awkward interview with the guy behind it. Oh, my Lord.
But we have actual footage of the gameplay and some really great cinematics. So what do you guys think about this game, and what did you guys learn about it?
Being a videographer, I don't like what 60 frames footage looks like. But as a video game, it makes sense. But I don't know. It kind of throws me out. But I know it's not about the frame rate. I know it's about the story. And yeah, it was really cool. Really, really, really nice. I think it was the earlier Star Wars games like the DICE made where the people would just throw the lightsaber like a boomerang the whole time. And I was like, that's getting old. And please stop.
It was a little
And
bit.
it looks like they added a lot of Kylo Ren, like where he stopped the bullet and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of new force abilities in this game.
Yeah.
I saw a list online. There was like almost 10 force abilities that, are visible in the gameplay trailers. And that's exciting because a lot of these abilities we haven't really seen too much of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought it was funny that he stopped the blast and then threw the stormtrooper
That was
into
great.
it. I was like, wow.
That was so awesome.
I was like, why don't we see that in Star Wars?
It's about time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the force and the basic manipulation of it that we know is possible has so many possibilities, but we see so few creative uses of it in battle and fighting. So it's about time.
we've talked on old episodes about the funny things that the force can do. It's like making people go to the bathroom, but we would
Forgot
never
our
see
beloved
that.
force poop.
Yes, the force.
And we would never see stuff like that, but it was a nice new kind of feeling to see different techniques used and stuff like that, like freezing people, freezing stuff, freezing object, and having him actually pull him to and then letting him go whenever he wants instead of all the way to the hand and then throwing him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can stop whenever he wants.
So if anyone's not super familiar with the backstory of this game, the story of this game takes place after episode 3, which is after Order 66, which is where basically Palpatine ceases, he's already got control, but now he finally reveals himself and he turns all the stormtroopers, which are basically the military force alongside the Jedi. He turns all of them against the Jedi, kills, almost all the Jedi, And this character in this game is actually one of the very few survivors of Order 66. So he somehow, gets out alive, and he doesn't get killed by his stormtroopers that are near him. And he's in hiding now.
What's super cool is they bring crossovers of Saw Gerrera from Rogue One. Is the guy that basically blows up at the planet, but now we get to see him younger, and he doesn't have his breathing Darth Vader mask with him. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you go back and watch Rogue One, and every time he takes a breath, it sounds like Darth Vader.
He's having trouble. He's got some asthma. Space asthma.
Yeah.
Let's call it that.
So.
Well, what's really cool is this game's supposed to be canon. Like, it's supposed to be legitimately be in the Star Wars universe. So that's super cool.
Which they can make a movie.
I think they did have some difficulty making sure that it was canon material.
Yeah.
And making sure that all the dynamics of, even just simple things like lightsabers and stuff like that was fitting with the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. So that is exciting. Some more canon material putting out there that's not a book and not a movie.
The Wookiees are disappointing. Yeah. I saw some of the Wookiees. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in development stage, so hopefully the graphics will improve. But yeah, those Wookiees, it looks good at the very end.
It was like PS2 graphics. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I've always been curious about the Order 66 that, supposedly wiped out all the Jedi, and it actually didn't. At least in the Star Wars Legends, which is non-canon, you can find a list online of about 10 different Jedi that were not killed by stormtroopers and that had survived in hiding. And actually, one of them lives on Kashyyyk. And they actually had a kid, and the kid becomes the young man in Force Unleashed, who is taken in by Vader. And so that person that Vader tries to manipulate and clone is actually the child of 2 Jedi that survived Order 66. Kind of cool little backstory. But that's not canon, I don't think, anymore, so never mind.
Yeah.
It's not needed anymore.
I hope this game has a really good combat system. Unlike Knights of the Old Republic, which I've played for like half an hour and it just ticked me off.
Yeah. Quote the lady from last year's E3, it's going to be real dark and serious.
Oh my gosh. Good times, right?
Stop talking.
Oh, get out.
Oh no.
Maybe all the cringe they brought from last year was just enough to bring in the attention for this year.
Yeah, both of those people got fired after that conference.
Not bring back.
All right, what else we have?
All right, well, we're going to skip past all of EA after that, and I'm going to go straight to Microsoft's conference. Whoa. So the first game that caught my attention, and I think some people are going to get mad at me that this is the first game I want to talk about, is Minecraft Dungeons.
Oh my gosh, get out of here.
Oh my goodness.
What are you, 12?
No.
Stop. I played this with my 11-year-old nephew, so it's fine.
It all makes sense.
Yeah, I never played anything in Minecraft until like this year when he coaxed me to play with him. So I'm kind of enjoying it.
I played it as an older teenager.
Yeah. But no, I just think this is going to be a fun game that I can play co-op with like my nephew, because this is sort of different and it's a dungeon crawler sort of game. So there's no crafting in this game, actually.
Interesting.
And you just go through randomly generated dungeons, and there's monsters,
really cool.
traps, puzzles, and treasures and stuff. And you can play online or co-op with, I think, up to 4 people.
That's fun.
So I think this would just be a fun game to play with friends, family, etc. And then after that, they went a totally different route and showed Blair Witch video game, which I'm like...
For all you kids out there.
Yeah!
Check this out.
From something over 20 years ago. They started like, what kid knows what Blair Witch is anymore?
Right. Who's Blair?
Yeah. But, this game's... The trailer started out with a kid goes missing, and the police are searching the woods trying to find this kid.
Classic.
Yeah, and the dude's got a dog, and he stumbles upon this house and gets trapped in the house or something, and a lot of spooky, weird images show up, and then it zooms out and it shows the Blair Witch symbol in the trees of the forest. So that just caught me off guard.
Oh my goodness.
They're like, just when you thought you forgot about the franchise, we're back.
I know. It's so weird. But, I mean... The graphics look cool, and you got a dog, so...
That's good.
Yeah.
Dogs are always redeeming qualities.
Yeah, exactly. Unless they die, which is terrible.
Unless it's John Wick.
Yeah. Oh, man. Speaking of John Wick. Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077. They showed a whole, 10-minute game cinematic trailer at first, and then they closed out the trailer with showing, hey, there's Keanu Reeves in it. He just shows up and he's like,
very cool.
Get the heck up. We got a city to burn or whatever.
Burn the city. I was like, whoa.
And then Keanu Reeves
I was like,
out
that's
on
like
stage.
John Wick in the future.
Yeah, when he comes out on the stage, that was basically Jesus' second coming. Like,
Yeah.
It was so Jesus-y.
Oh my gosh, that
Or a
is hilarious.
WWD entrance.
And the audience wouldn't shut up. He's like, all right, I got something to
I
talk
got
to you
something
about.
to talk to you about. It's just
so
like
funny.
losing their mind.
I'm having to readjust my mental image of what Keanu Reeves is like, because in my mind, he's still Neo. And Neo is very stiff and reserved.
Yeah.
And that's just not Keanu Reeves in real life.
Right. It's
Like very different personalities and mannerisms. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, this is weird to me. I'm not used to Keanu Reeves.
I know. He's not even
being
acting like
himself.
John Wick or anything. He's closer to Ted from Bill
Right.
and Ted,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, right?
Oh man. But yeah, no, for real. That was like the highlight of all of E3.
Totally.
He's just so excited to be there. He stands out
He
from
is.
all the other presenters who sound scripted and like they're reading a teleprompter, and he's just going off the cuff and super excited about being a part of this game. I'm like, man, this is like a breath of fresh air.
The only person more excited to be there than Keanu Reeves was that girl in the audience screaming her face off.
Yeah. Oh man. And
Security probably had to escort her out of there.
And this other dude in the audience, when Keanu was talking about the gameplay and how walking around the city is just absolutely breathtaking. This one dude goes, "You're breathtaking." And Keanu, it just totally throws Keanu off guard for a second. And he's like, "No, you're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking." The crowd loses
That was
it.
funny.
You know what's funny is they spent like millions of dollars for this conference. And it takes one guy going, "You're breathtaking," to steal the entire
I know.
conference, basically.
Great. I saw some headline where the dude actually won like a copy of Cyberpunk 2077, like a deluxe edition, just for saying that.
For
And I
doing
really
that?
hope that's true. That's
I'm going to start going to E3 and yelling random stuff out.
Yeah. See if you
they'll
get anything
just
for
throw you
free.
out, though.
So did you guys know that this game is based on a tabletop game that's like as old as me?
Now that you say that, that does
Wow.
sound familiar, but I know nothing
Yeah,
about
you're
it.
old.
So Mike Pondsmith is a famous RPG and tabletop game creator. He made Cyberpunk 2020, and it came out in 1988, my birth year.
Oh, man. Oh,
So
my
it's
God.
old.
Wow.
And here we are almost in 2020, and it's nothing like what his game was. So we had to bump it up to 2077.
This is getting really far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons style game,
Hmm.
and this game is officially announced to be connected and I guess in the same universe as Cyberpunk 2020. So
Really?
if anyone played that game and knows the characters, knows the lore and the world, they will have a very high. They'll have a higher advantage. They'll definitely have an advantage playing in the new game.
I guess that makes sense why people were so excited about this game. I was like, why is everybody so excited about this game
Well,
outside of Reeves being in
right.
it? But now that you're saying it's a part 2, I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, it's got a fan base.
Yeah, I honestly thought a lot of the hype came from also the developers who are making it, CD Projekt Red, because they made the Witcher games. Those are insanely
really?
popular. Yeah,
So they know how to do a good RPG.
they do. Yeah, it's going to be a
It's
long one
breathtaking.
for sure then,
Mhm.
because the Witcher games are freaking long, so I've heard.
This game looks like it's going to take a freaking long time to finish too. Have you seen like the 1 hour long gameplay video they put out?
No, I didn't get to watch any of
It's-
those presentations after the conference.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I skipped through it, of course, because I didn't want to use up 50 minutes of my time watching them walk around and talk to people.
Right.
But this is a real time paced game. So if you want to go across town, you have to walk over there or take a car. You have to go down elevators
Oh,
and
no.
push the button to go
Yeah.
down or up. And it's just like very time consuming. That's not a bad thing. It kind of adds to the realism
Yeah.
and the escapism of this game. This is a very immersive and escapism type game where you get in the world and you just kind of get lost.
More and more games are starting to be like that. Like you can't
Yeah.
just teleport or be in the next section.
Sure.
Like it's like, okay, hey, you're doing another quest, and oh, that's like really far away.
Yeah, you got to walk across town to do that quest and go pick up this thing from that person and then go over here. So I think this game would be amazing in VR. I don't know if there is that
Oh,
for this.
man.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But it would be perfect because the world they made, there is stuff happening everywhere. And I just feel like the ability to just turn your head and look at something and listen to someone else talking on the side of the street would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, movies are going to be like that.
Yeah. But yeah, this game has a lot of really cool sci-fi themes in it. It is obviously cyberpunk. So we're in a kind of a future world, sort of like Blade Runner, just not as dark and gloomy, less Gotham
Yeah,
Yeah.
and more, I don't know.
it's Blade Runner with the lights
Saturated,
on.
colorful.
Yeah. Daytime. Blade
Yeah,
Runner.
it's true.
But people have cybernetic implants and limb replacements and all kinds of things, added to their bodies to just whatever for their jobs and for the things that they do daily. So that opens up a lot of interesting avenues for the gameplay itself. In RPGs, it's all about items, and you get weapon that has different stats, or you get a magical potion in a classic fantasy RPGs. But in this game, you can get a new arm. I'm assuming you can get new upgrades to your firmware, your bioware inside your body. In the long gameplay video I watched, the character V, which looks like it's customizable because in one gameplay video there he's a guy, another she's a girl. So there's that. It confused me at first, but yeah. So in the video I watched, she gets these things added to her palm, which allows her to hold on to a gun and connect with the gun. It gives you a higher damage rate.
Oh, wow.
You can aim better. It's like there's a bunch of technological advancements to having that thing added to her hand.
Nanobots.
Maybe that might be in the game. And then she also gets a fake eye put in that has she can zoom in on stuff, and she can read stats and analyze people and stuff like that. So lots of cool gameplay possibilities, I feel like, branching up.
I'm telling you, you got Keanu Reeves a part of this. Give it another game that they're going to come out with, and he'll probably want to make it a movie.
Man, Keanu Reeves has had just a huge reawakening of fame, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, ever since John Wick, man.
Yeah.
John Wick started it all. And then he got into Fortnite, and that was a big deal, at least for the young people.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is in Fortnite. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep. So there's that. A few nights ago, I was watching this show with my wife. It's called Always Be My Maybe. And the main actress in that is this really funny Asian comedian that I'd seen getting viral lately. And now she's got her own show. And so in this episode, she introduces her longtime childhood friend to her new date, her new boyfriend, and it's Keanu Reeves.
Oh my god!
And it is so funny.
Wow.
Oh, please just go find that episode and just watch that one. I don't know what the name of it is, but the one with Keanu Reeves, because it's hilarious. He's pretty much just himself.
Really? That's great.
And he's just like this perfect boyfriend. He's charming, and he's smart, and he's strong, and he's everything goes right. And it's really funny though.
That's great.
And now he's on this game, and he's just taking over the world. So
there was a movie he was recently in that was the
robot
duplicates
one.
Or,
I heard that one wasn't that great.
And it was boring. It was not that good.
That's too bad. My brother said it was very predictable.
Keanu Reeves really is taking over everybody's lives. I just can't wait. Maybe he's going to be the new Smash character or something. Smash Brothers Brawl.
That'd be cool.
Well, he's getting so popular that people are talking about putting him in Star Wars as Darth Revan.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's right. I think we talked about that in the last episode or two.
That'd be amazing, actually. I guess we can't keep talking about Keanu Reeves throughout the entire episode.
It's too breathtaking.
We're going to rename this episode.
The breathtaking episode of Keanu Reeves.
That's too funny. When this game popped up, I immediately thought of Nate, but he's probably going to be like, oh my god. But they're coming out with a new Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is really weird.
Cool.
After, I think the last game they came out with, I looked it up, it was 2006. So it's been a bit.
Yeah, like what Daniel said, it's like, if you have just forgot about us, we're bad.
I know. I mean, the graphics and everything look beautiful. I'm sure all the landscapes and places you can go are awesome. But yeah, I just thought of Nate because he's studying to be a pilot now. So I don't know if he'd ever want to play something like that.
I feel like when they bring out games like that are realistic, they're just training terrorists.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's so real. Like, you have complete control over everything. I'm like, okay. Well,
next on the Microsoft lineup that caught my eye was the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. So
of course it's Skywalker.
Yeah, of course it's Skywalker. We can't get away from Skywalker.
No.
Gosh, dang it.
This is actually a reboot of all the Lego Star Wars games that have come out previously. So this isn't a continuation. It's kind of just a redo. And this game itself actually covers all 9 films. So I'm thinking there are out there right now people that have worked on the episode 9 part of this game, and they know what's going to happen. And I need to find those people in a dark alleyway.
Like, is this a total reboot, though, is what's confusing me? Because I wonder if they're just going to put all the previous games onto this one game.
This is a total reboot because this is different than the other games. And what I mean by that is this game is actually an open world style
What?
gameplay. Yeah, so there is a linear storyline that you follow for each movie. You know, all 9 movies, you follow that story. But you can leave the planet. You can go to another planet or any of the other 20 planets that are fully explorable, is what they say. And yeah, you can just go all over the place and do, I guess there's side quests or games or side things you can do. So this sounds really fun.
Yes,
and
pretty neat,
very different. The viewpoint for the game is a third-person view that kind of follows over the shoulder, or I'm guessing behind the character, which is also different than most Lego games, which is a fixed perspective camera view. So, like, you go to a level and the viewpoint is static, and then your Lego man runs around in the area. So this is also different. And I feel like this is like Cyberpunk 2077, but Lego in Star Wars.
Right.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
It sounds like you need to get a couple of gaming systems, Daniel.
I know.
Sounds like it, man. I need to stop my photography. I need to sell my kids and just play games. There's so many good games out.
Sell your kids.
I mean, they're really cute. I can make some good money off of them and buy a lot of games.
What you do is you use your kids as an excuse to buy the consoles. Like, oh, this is for my kids. And then you play it more than them.
Oh.
I'm being a good father by getting them video games that are really just for me.
It'll teach them hand-eye coordination and all this fun stuff. And
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars, Mario Kart, whatever.
That's pretty much all I got for this game. Looks fun, sounds fun. And like I said, I need to find the people who worked on the episode 9 portion and interrogate them in a corner. I'm going to make them walk on Legos until they tell me the plot.
Tell me what I want.
So they finally showed some new info on Dragon Ball Project Z, which they revealed that its actual name is going to be Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And I'm excited.
They called it Dragon Ball Project Z?
Yeah, that is what they originally called it. Like, as
confusing.
Wow.
I know, it's dumb. But no. I mean, Kakarot's not much better, honestly. But
no.
Whatever.
It means carrot in Japanese.
Yeah, it does. Kind of. But I'm excited because it's going to be like an RPG sort of thing. There was, on the Game Boy Advance, there was a series of games called the Legacy of Goku series. And I played the second one a lot. And it was a lot of fun to me. And this is kind of reminding me of that somewhat. And that you follow along the main storyline of like the Frieza saga, at least is what they've showed cutscenes of. I don't know if it's going to go beyond that or not. But there's all these side quests you can do, and it looks to be open world, so you can fly wherever you want to go. There was about a 20-minute gameplay showcase, but I didn't get to see all of that. I just got to see enough where they showed the beginning of the game where you have to go rescue Gohan from Raditz, but Goku stopped along the way to talk to a bunch of random people, go fishing, fight random battles. So,
oh, sorry, Gohan. I got stuff to do. Rescuing you doesn't fit into my schedule today.
Right. Maybe another day. Funny. Today I'm going fishing. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it's going to do good, because the last time they tried to do a Dragon Ball RPG game was, I think, Dragon Ball Sagas several years back, and it was very bad.
I watched the video, and I was impressed by the graphics. I like how it matches the anime style. It looks fun, and, you know, we all love Dragon Ball Z, but I just feel like we need to move on. This is getting a little Skywalker-y, honestly.
Yeah. Kinda. I mean, at least the side quest stuff is gonna change things up a little bit in this game, but yeah, I wish there were more original stories, I guess. They kind of did that with Xenoverse, and that everything was messed up and kind of fan fiction-y, and you played as your own character.
Cool.
But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like something weird happened with, I don't know, time itself, and you had to go take one of Trunks' time travel machines and try to write things or whatever. But I'm just like, why haven't they done anything with Dragon Ball Super yet? It's kind of weird.
That's what's making the money right now.
I know, exactly. I mean, I know the dub's not 100% done, but they can still do portions from that series, and you follow on the events of that. They also showed a bunch of different indie games at Microsoft's conference, but only 2 of them really stood out to me. One of them was called 12 Minutes.
Sounds like a short game.
Yeah. From what the trailer showed, you view the entire game from like a top-down perspective, like you're almost a fly on the ceiling looking at these people's lives. And they opened up with a husband and wife eating dinner, and then wife gives a box to the husband, says, "Open it up, it's a surprise." And he's like, it's baby's clothes. You're pregnant and stuff. And he's like, "What? How did you know?" And he's like, "There's going to be a man who's going to knock on the door. He says you killed your father." What? But that's not what happened at all, blah, blah. So, like, she's freaking out. And then police detective bursts down the door and wife goes running to another room. The dude tries to fight off the detective. He gets knocked out, but then he wakes up like back in the apartment, like right before all these events happen. So this dude is stuck in a time loop and there's some crazy crap going down.
Wow. I need to see this.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. And then they just cut to like a bunch of different scenes that could happen. Like they're sitting on the couch and then it cuts to them cowering in the bathroom and the detective bursts in and him getting knocked out again and then the wife being dead on the floor in the next room and
Oh no.
husband freaking
it's
out.
Like Groundhog's
So
Day. Groundhog's Day, the video game.
Basically, yeah. There's been a lot of time loop games coming out lately, but this one looks pretty neat. And it's just different looking. So I want to see what happens with that. I want to keep my eye on whenever that comes out and see how well the reviews are for that. Because I like me a good indie game. I like mystery related video games. So that's up my alley, I think. And another one they showed is Way to the Woods, which you play as a deer in this game. It's kind of has like Miyazaki feels to me, like how everything's got like a spiritual sort of thing going on. And that the deer's antlers glow and you can light your way. And there's like little shadow creatures that run from you as you approach them.
So you're a Patronus.
Sure. I don't watch enough Harry Potter to be like, yeah. But what's interesting is that it looks like it's also a post-apocalyptic sort of game in that this is after humanity. You travel through like an abandoned subway station, grocery store. There's nobody. The whole point of the game is you're trying to get home, is all they've said, and you have to explore a world filled with relics of the old gods, humanity. I don't know. I like interesting stuff like that too. Whenever you get to play it as an animal, I'm always interested.
Yeah. You love those animals, don't you?
I do. One of my favorite games is Okami, where you play as a wolf, so... One other thing I also notice as a trend is that they have a lot of weird DLC and expansions coming out for some games. I'm just going to touch on this very briefly. Like with Gears of War 5, there's a Terminator DLC coming out for it. You can get... Dumb. Yeah, like if you pre-order it, you get it as a free bonus, I guess. So, yeah. I don't know if you play as a Terminator
It's only coming out because the movie's coming out.
I know.
This
They're
year,
really
so
advertising.
They're going to be pushing a lot of it.
I thought that was weird. And in Forza Horizon 4, there's a Lego expansion coming out for that. You get Lego cars. I'm like, what is happening?
Oh my gosh.
And then the Gears of War pop game that's going to come out for mobile is still a thing. That's going to happen. That's still,
somehow it's still a thing.
Yeah, that still looks awful. Whatever that is. I don't know what's going on with all these weird crossovers lately.
They're getting desperate.
I guess. I don't know. One thing I wanted to mention, it's not a big deal to me, but I think it is for a lot of other people because I saw people tweeting about this and freaking out. And this Phantasy Star Online 2 is finally coming over to the West. It was a huge MMO over in Japan for like 7 years, I think.
Wow.
And they're finally bringing it over in a proper Western release. And people are freaking
That's strange.
out.
They never did it before?
No, I guess not. I don't know why, because I think Phantasy Star Online, the first one, was pretty popular. I think it was on the Dreamcast and Xbox or something.
That's racist.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So, yeah. Yeah, people are losing their stuff and saying that was like one of the best moments of E3 for them. So I just thought I should include that in this. I just think it's weird. Like, why would you not port it over after so long when people are clamoring for it? The company that made the Dark Souls games, they're partnering up with George R.R. Martin to make a whole new game.
Uh-oh.
So people who make dark fantasy games team up with the dark fantasy authors to make the ultimate dark fantasy something or other. I don't know, it's called Elden Ring, but they didn't show any gameplay from it. They just showed just a bunch of cinematics running on the games engine, I guess.
Cool.
So that's the thing to look out for. They didn't show anything specifically.
Yeah, they're still waiting for George R. R. Martin to finish his 10-year script process. So.
Right. People are probably so mad because isn't he supposed to be working on a book, but he's doing this. So
yeah,
this better be worth it, I guess.
There's other things in life.
Yeah.
Other than
video games.
Game of Thrones? No.
So they closed out the show by showing that they're working on the new Xbox console. It's supposed to come out holiday next year.
Not happy about that.
Because you just got an Xbox X. Is that why?
No. Yeah. Come on.
Good timing,
Like
Nate.
2 years ago, I finally get the new one. It's like 2 years later, it's like, oh, guess what? It's like, hate you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I kind of saw this coming. It was basically just like a half step in between the major.
But it says Project Scarlet.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it
they
for
did
now.
the
Like, we all know it's
Scarlet.
gonna be Xbox One, and
They don't hire Scarlett Johansson for this advertising, they're going to fail.
but it's supposed to be coming out holiday 2020, so there's a little bit of a wait for it. But
Thank God.
yeah, you better enjoy your X while you can, I guess.
Oh, but by the time it comes out, it'll been like 3 years, so that's standard. But when I heard the announcement last year, I was like, are you?
Yeah, but they made a big
Just got this
hoopla.
one.
Like, it's 8K gaming, 120 frames per second,
Boo.
real-time ray
Jeez.
tracing, all the
Hold on.
SSDs.
Wait. 8K?
Yeah.
4K looks garbage already on like home theaters. Like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
If
I
you're
think
sitting-
120
looks
frames per
too-
second is just too much, honestly.
If you're sitting like 10 feet or more away from your screen, you probably can't even tell the difference between 4K and 8K.
I know.
Or maybe even
Yeah.
HD. I mean, if your
I mean-
TV is like in an 80 inch, that's different maybe.
That's
but
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, most movies are shot in like 6 or 8K, so we're already accustomed to it. But like in your home setting, it's gonna be like,
Mhm.
I paid how much for this?
Yeah.
I don't like it. It looks too digital.
I'd like to see what 120 frames per second looks like.
Yeah, I'm just
I
wondering,
guess
can we
where I
even
don't
tell
like
the
8K.
difference? Honestly?
Nah,
Like,
probably not. Past 60, I don't think the human eye can even perceive it.
that's what I'm saying.
Making the 3D assets for a game in 8K is a huge headache because you have to make your image maps so much larger than they were
I know.
before.
I figured.
Yeah.
So for years, the maximum resolution that anyone would ever play or see something was, HD, which is 1080.
Mm-hmm.
And so maps were made usually 2048 pixels by 2048 pixels, or maybe twice that if it was something that you would see up very close, like a face skin texture. But now, if you use that same size map on an 8K, you can see the pixels.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pixels have to get enlarged because there's just so many pixels to display things. So I feel bad for all the CGI artists and, the texture artists and things like that are doing this stuff because they got to up their game big time to match these new resolutions.
Yeah.
I mean, when you put something like 8K out like that, that means they're assuming everybody in their household's going to have 4K TVs.
8K TVs now, honestly.
Yeah, very few people have an 8K television.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we'll
Right now,
change
at least.
that. We'll make people buy 8K TVs now with this console.
Nope.
Maybe the TV industry is paying them off to make 8K. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows?
Back to Xbox, they announced the new Halo game. You
Yeah,
guys
that's
excited
actually
about
going to
that?
be.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's actually going to be bundled with the new console. So that's
Oh, my
incentive.
goodness.
how they're going to get people to get it, probably.
Have either of you guys played much of Halo?
Not really.
I like Halo storyline. I
Mhm.
like Halo visually. I don't like Halo multiplayer because everybody just jumps and shoots.
Jump and
I'm like,
snipe.
okay, look. Yeah. It's like jump, spin, click, headshot. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Gameplay, not so much.
Right.
It'd be great if you could disable jumping for like a multiplayer game. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Level the playing field. Well, this game looks like it's still continuing the Halo storyline. They called it a spiritual reboot, which I don't really understand what that term
Really?
means.
I don't either.
But Master Chief, which in my head is Master Chef, that's what I call him in my
Yeah.
head. I don't know why.
Right.
And I want to see that cosplay. If someone has that,
Oh, I
send me a
feel like
picture of
somebody
Master
had
Chef.
to have done that.
Please. Yeah, with a spatula and an apron.
Master Chef.
But yeah, so Master Chef is revived by some engineer. And I guess he died and he's back alive now for more adventures.
Woo.
To get used as a pawn in the game.
Visually, it's super pretty. Like, it's really cool. I'm totally into the whole space look. It's just, I wish the gameplay would have been better. But other than that, I love it.
I want him to take off his helmet and show everyone that he's actually a woman.
Oh,
Be
God.
With that voice that he has.
Oh, he has a voice? Oops. It's a voice modulator.
Yeah, he almost sounds like Steve Bloom, but it's not.
No, they did that in the Solo movie where the villain was
Yeah.
we all thought a dude and then she took off the helmet.
Well, let's move on to Bethesda's games. They've got a lot of cool, interesting ones coming out.
Bethesda's conference was terrible.
Wah, wah.
Oh my god. The
Yet
audience.
the cringe is back.
I gotta say, the audience sounded like they were totally paid off to react super enthusiastically to everything. There was this one dude in the audience who kept yelling, yeah, to everything, even if it was something stupid, like their
Yeah,
mobile
too much Red
game.
Bull that morning.
Oh my gosh.
And some guys in the back's like, okay, yell. Yeah. Here's
Yeah.
your $10.
Yeah.
Okay, now
For
scream
real.
really loud. Wow. Here's another $10.
It was the most fake sounding conference I had heard in a long time. Like there was one point where they were promoting some childish looking mobile game and the presenter was saying some awful puns and everybody's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Like, no, that's not real at all. That is so fake.
That's bad.
It was bad. So, and they didn't even say anything about Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield, that sci-fi game that they were
really?
Yeah, so
Let
nothing
down.
good. There was only a handful of things that stood out to me from this whole conference. They brought out this lady presenter who was a creative director on the game. Her name is Ikumi Nakamura. And she was the most real thing at this conference. She had so much enthusiasm for her game. So excited. And she was just freaking adorable. Like, I mean,
Yes, she was.
I don't like if you could understand her English, honestly, because she's Japanese. English is her second language, so it's a little hard to understand her. It took me a couple listens through to get everything that she was saying. But she was so funny. And there's so much fan art of her coming out now, which
that's great.
the internet fell in love with her. So I saw her post a tweet. She showed all the fan art that she had collected, and she's like, "These are all my treasures now." I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
that's awesome!
So precious."
When the trailer started, eventually I felt like maybe half a minute in or more, I was like, "Are we just going to be looking at mundane life in Japanese like subways?" It's going on and on. It looked great. At first, I thought it was real video, and then I was like, "Oh wow, this is just really good CGI." And then the rapture happened.
It did, like on a huge scale. Everybody,
or maybe Thanos. Oh, this is within the Avengers universe. The Thanos just did the snap.
Yeah. She said it was like some sort of mystery sort of game with a lot of paranormal stuff going down in it.
Spirits and
she's like, everybody's disappearing around Tokyo, and you got to find out why. And there's spirits that you can come into contact with, and some of them are dangerous, and some of them are peaceful. Like she says, Hawkeye or Arrow is there or something. I didn't quite understand. There's some dude with a bow and arrow with some sort of cool abilities. Yeah, I don't know. They basically just set up like a huge mystery, and you don't even know exactly what is happening in this trailer, but you just know it looks neat.
Avengers universe, it's all coming together.
It could be Hawkeye.
So they basically spent millions of dollars
he was in
for
Tokyo.
This conference, and two people won everybody's hearts over.
Right.
The breathtaking guy and this lady.
Oh my gosh, what if there's fan art or fan fiction made about Keanu Reeves and Ikumi?
Oh my god.
That'd be just so extra.
The sad thing is that it could be there, and I just don't want to think about it.
I'm waiting to buy the shirt that with Keanu Reeves' face on it. It says you're breathtaking.
Oh my gosh, yes. I want that too.
Hey, start working on that drawing, please.
Oh man, I should do fan art of that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
He could be looking deeply into Ikumi's eyes, saying, "You are breathtaking."
Okay, I'm not doing
so
that,
romantic.
That's weird.
Hey, you heard it here first on this podcast, okay? When it happens and blows up, you know Dano Girl started it.
Oh my god.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, so this video had the coolest video transitions I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was super creative.
There's only like two of them, but man, they were awesome. Like the one where the scene turns into water and then it's the noodles coming out of the soup. That was like, wow. And then there's another one where something turns into the person's arm that's walking.
Yeah, it was like a flower and it was unraveling and transitioned to a sleeve of someone.
Oh, that was creepy. So cool.
Yeah, I know. The art direction in this looks pretty cool based on that.
Yeah.
So
I'm not playing around.
I know. I want to keep an eye on how well that game does when it comes out. Another game that they showed that's not like one of their main franchises like Wolfenstein or Elder Scrolls. It's called Deathloop, and it's made by the same people who made the Dishonored games. And they opened up with this guy who wakes up on the shore of an island, and he's like, "This place is supposed to be a paradise, but it's a prison." And it shows, everybody on the island like attacking each other. But then it transitions from the guy saying this place is terrible to prison to this woman who's saying this place like my utopia, basically. This is where I fulfill my life's purpose.
That's cool. Dichotomy.
I know. And it cuts to a scene of them fighting, and she ends up killing him, but then he immediately wakes back up on the shores of the island. So every time he dies, I guess they're just reliving the same day over and over and over.
Cool.
And then it cuts to them fighting again, but this time he dodges her attack, and then he ends up killing her, and she wakes back up, and Seems like they have supernatural powers and everything. It's crazy.
I'm really intrigued by that big technological superstructure on the island.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call it, I think that's some kind of time travel device that's either gone wrong or something funky's going on with that. You see some kind of residual energy stuff coming off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it also looks kind of derelict and just left alone and, to age.
Yeah.
So something's going on.
Yeah. And I wonder if whatever was going on there gave maybe the inhabitants of the island powers, because the guy looks
Yeah.
like he's got some sort of like telekinesis ability, like he force pushes some dude into a wall,
Yeah.
and she can
Well,
teleport.
It's technological. It looks technological. He's got some orange things on his arm that glow and turned on or whatever. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I think it's technological, but it's definitely some far out there tech.
Mm-hmm.
And she's jumping around like in Jumper, so that looks really cool too.
Yeah, I just think the whole premise is neat. The two people going after each other, completely different beliefs and stuff. I wonder if you can choose which side you can be on. And
I hope their story is a deep one, and you kind of get those back and forths of you think your guy's a good guy, and then things are upside down. You're like, oh, maybe he's like on the bad side, and then you kind of go back and well, no, he's definitely on the good side. Like I like those thought provoking stories where you don't know what side your characters are on.
Yeah.
Or maybe, everyone's a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, depending on their situation. So
yeah,
looks intriguing.
Yeah, you never really see good stories in shooter games like this, in my opinion.
True.
So that's what kind of...
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah, it got my attention because of that. So I'm not a big fan of the Doom series, but I know a lot of people are, and their last reveal for their conference was Doom Eternal, and they showed a lot of gameplay and stuff for it. So I think
it was finally coming out this year, right? Not last year.
Oh, shoot, I don't know. I can't remember the date. It's either this year or next year.
This is one of the games that comes up at E3, and I'm like, hold on a second. We saw this announced last year. What's going on? Like, I'm new to E3, so I don't know if that's just a normal thing. Some big projects kind of stretch on 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Or they do like a first reveal last year, and then the final like is coming out this year. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah. It looks epic. It looks really dark and scary.
Yeah. If you're into that thing, I'm sure that's right up your alley.
If you like demons and stuff.
Yeah. Like demons coming out of portals and
fun for the whole family. Good family game. Well, folks, you may notice Nate will be silent from here on out because, well, he had to go. Something came up, unfortunately, and so he's going to step on out for the rest of this episode. We're going to miss him. We'll be seeing him back on the podcast very soon.
He will be missed. All right, so after Bethesda's, Devolver Digital did their conference like they have for the past couple of years, but I wasn't really interested in the stuff that they showed. They just always have something really interesting going on with their conference where they have this overarching story that they do year after year. It's all connected.
They're trying real hard.
But they do it well because they make fun of all the other conferences, like they're poking fun at E3.
Oh, nice.
It's fun to watch, but you got to be able to take like the kind of content that would come from a Quentin Tarantino movie on crack cocaine because it's a little crazy. Pass over them and go straight to the PC gaming show, and only a couple of things caught my eye from this. A lot of it was indie titles that they showed, but none of it really seemed to be up my alley. I feel like I should mention that they showed a trailer for Shenmue 3 because that was one of the games they showed a long time ago, like 2015.
What?
Yeah.
A Shamu game?
Yeah. No, not Shenmue.
Oh. I was very confused for a second. I'm thinking
People
Free
have been
Willy,
wanting
what is happening?
No.
Free the whales, man.
Yeah.
Take down SeaWorld. Okay, continue. I'm an idiot.
No, you're good. I can see how that'd be confusing. No, there's like a bit of a history with this game, I guess, because, so Shenmue was a series that came out, I think, on the Dreamcast first, and it did really well back then. I think it was one of the first games that had QuickTime events in it, so...
What is that exactly?
That's when you're like watching cutscenes in a game and then the button prompts show up to have you hit like A button at this point or to affect the cutscene, and usually if you miss it, like something negative will happen, like you'll either die or just lose health or something like that.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the first games to do that, and I guess the overall game was just fun, and they came out with the second one. It's I think maybe on Xbox or something, but there was supposed to be 3 total, but then I think the developer became bankrupt and couldn't continue.
No.
But at E3 in 2015, they showed, I think, a trailer for Shenmue 3, and people lost their minds. They're like, oh my gosh, this is coming out. I think it was like an advertisement for Kickstarter, honestly, because that's how they had to get back up on it. So
Oh.
for this whole time, I don't think we really heard anything about the game other than I think the Kickstarter was funded, I believe.
Mm.
So they showed the trailer and some gameplay, but I'll be honest, it looks kind of cheesy in my opinion
Oh,
because
that's too bad.
yeah, like back in the day, of course, the voice acting was really hammy for being like a late '90s game. That's kind of what
It's
you would
rough.
expect, and it just seemed like that continued on in this game.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know if they did that on
they're
purpose.
staying authentic.
Maybe I don't know, but it just came across as like B movie stuff.
Oh
I
no,
was seeing. I don't know if it was
that's too
still
bad.
an early alpha stage either, like the graphics, but just wasn't very impressed. So,
Ooh,
I don't
sounds like a
know.
letdown for some longtime fans. Well, there were a ton of games for the PC Game Show. I mean, it looks like
There was
probably
a
20
lot.
or 30.
Yeah, there's
So many.
usually
I
a
mean,
lot.
it makes sense. It's PC. It's like the
Hmm.
biggest gaming platform out there.
Yeah.
But the next one on our list that caught my eye personally was Per Aspera. I'm gonna say it. I called it. I called it a few episodes back. We were talking about colonizing Mars, and I was saying, you know what? I love all those games, those strategy games where you have to build a colony or build a military base.
Hmm.
I want one to happen on Mars, by golly. And somebody, they heard me, and they got right to it, and they made this game just for me.
In a few weeks, man.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean, they forgot to put my
impressive.
name in the trailer, but I
Oh
mean,
man.
budget cuts and stuff. So
Maybe it's in the credits. You don't know.
yeah, they'll put me in there. Give me some,
Special
20%
things.
profit, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it looks really cool. There's a little sci-fi setup in the beginning, which is interesting. It's talking about like our greatest achievement of mankind is, sending our consciousness into machines. And I
Oh
feel like
man.
that the narration's very, very forced and like unnecessary. But I guess it's kind of a setup to say like, hey, we've got a machine at Mars that somehow has a human consciousness in it, and that's planting a colony for humans that are coming or that are already there, something like that. So you're playing as this AI, I suppose, that's building the colony, setting stuff and planning things out. And so yeah, you're building a little colony on Mars. Looks really fun.
Hmm.
The name Per Aspera, it comes from a Latin saying, which is Per Aspera ad Astra, which means through trouble to the stars.
Oh.
And the name of this is interesting because the other half of this phrase is Ad Astra, which happens to be the title of a high budget Hollywood film with Matt Damon in it.
Oh, really?
Coming out this year. So it looks like, I wonder if they wanted to name it Ad Astra, to the stars, but they couldn't because the movie.
Most likely.
So they had to do the first part, Per Aspera,
Oh,
which is
man.
through troubles or through trial.
Oh man, that's funny.
So interesting, yeah. And also, Ad Astra is the name of a planet in a really great sci-fi novel by Stephen Baxter. I think it's I can't remember the name of it right now, but yeah. So cool sci-fi stuff going on. Yay!
Yeah, that's cool. And I think the only other game that really got my attention, and it's a very brief trailer, so hopefully the game is actually good, but I think it's called Chris Tales. And they advertise it as a love letter to JRPGs and
Hmm.
has popped up with some awards that it won last year. And the premise just looked kind of cool because it looked like an RPG game that you can affect the events of past, present, and the future
Ooh,
through
interesting.
different puzzle elements, and it would show parts of the gameplay where the screen was split up to where the part you're walking around would be one time period, and then the
Whoa.
outside area would be like maybe from the past or the future or something, so you could kind of see
Oh.
what you're directly
Hey, that's like
affecting.
remember Legends of Zelda when you could plant seeds and then go back in the future and like reap the benefit of your seeds you planted?
Was that? Oh yeah, that was
That's
Zelda.
exactly the
Yeah,
same.
I was thinking Chrono Trigger. I'm like, no, you're right too.
Oh.
That had it as well. But yeah, I like games like that where puzzly
Mhm.
elements and time travel and stuff. So I thought it looked cute
Cool.
too. All right, so I guess that does it for PC. Ubisoft was the next conference, or as I like to call it this year, Tom Clancy's conference, because
Tom Clancy soft. He is banking, man. He's making so much
I
money.
really
off this
hope
stuff.
he is picking a lot.
And there's a movie in the works, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, true. But I swear, like half the games they showed were Tom Clancy games.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. We'll get into that shortly. They started off their conference with a nice kind of like orchestral movement, and I was surprised that they would go in this direction because it was nice and classy, and it was used to advertise like an Assassin's Creed Symphony tour,
Cool.
which is pretty neat. Yeah, they played like a medley of some of the songs in that game, so that was pretty
That's awesome.
nice. Yeah. After that, they showed a big like 20, 25-minute showcase of the new Watch Dogs game that they have in development. I think it's going to be like Watch Dogs 3. It's called Watch Dogs Legion. Now, I'm not big on that series. All I really know is that like the main, I guess, set piece of the games is that it's in the future and there's like a huge surveillance state,
Ooh.
basically. So the rebel groups that you're usually a part of in that series, they use hacking and
Yeah.
other means to try to take it down.
The most action-packed hacking you've ever seen. In the middle of a
Yeah.
gunfight, someone's got a laptop and they're hacking into stuff.
Yeah, sure, I guess, maybe. But what kind of stood out to me for this trailer of this game is that it looks a lot more involved, I guess, than the previous games. Because I think, at least in the first game, that's the only one I've ever seen any gameplay of, is you would take control of just like one dude.
Mhm.
And he seemed like a very generic, boring kind of protagonist. Whereas
Oh.
in this game, you can recruit a lot
Yeah.
of different people.
Quote unquote, anybody in the city.
Yeah,
So
so
they
they say.
Uh,
Yeah. So I'm not sure how in depth that is. It made it seem like also that once people are killed off, they're killed off for good. But I don't know if that's at certain points in the game or if that can happen at any time. That I'm not aware of. But the the permadeath thing seems kind of interesting so far because not many games do that. But of course, the biggest thing from their showcase that stood out to me and has become a meme on the internet is Murder Grandma that they show because you can have a little old lady who was
Aw.
a former assassin be on your team and she just beating up people.
Man,
Trash
I never
talking.
see it coming.
I know. I'm like, okay, that's pretty great. I gotta hand it to him for that one. And I also feel like I should mention this just because it's very weird. The next thing that they showed was an advertisement for a TV show. It's by the same people who made It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I think. And they're making a show for Apple TV Plus called Mythic Quest. And it's about behind the scenes of people who are making like one of the largest MMOs out there.
Yeah, fictitiously.
Yeah. And it really confused, I think, a lot of people in the audience.
See, I'm confused, but I thought that was in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like I thought they were referencing an actual fake thing in the show, and they're making a game about that thing.
That's funny.
But I'm just all wrong.
Yeah, I know it was kind of confusing to me at first.
Meta,
Like,
very meta.
Yeah, I've never seen a TV advertisement at E3. So
It's different.
whatever.
We're at a gaming convention, and there's an ad for a show about a game.
Yeah, it was very, very weird.
Mythic Quest is just beautifully generic sounding too.
I know. I like
It's so cheesy.
So the next thing I want to talk about that really stood out is yet another celebrity appearance in a video game. And I guess this is just going to be a regular thing from now on.
It's a new thing now. Yep.
Yeah, John Bernthal is going to be in a new Tom Clancy Ghost Recon game, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And I don't play any of those games. I don't think you do either, Daniel.
No.
Correct? Okay.
No.
But Nate told us that he did, and I had him watch the trailer to figure out, okay, what's going on because I don't quite understand.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. So it looks like the character that John Bernthal is playing, he's like an ex special ops soldier, and I guess he was a part of like the Ghost Recon team, which is basically the good guys in that world. But then I think he broke off of that group. I think his ideals kind of conflicted, it seems, and started a new group called the Wolves. And so he was giving a speech about, brother against brother, stuff like that.
Ghosts and stuff.
Yeah.
And being hungry. A lot of hungry references and wolfy references.
Yeah. They try to do a lot of clever wordplay in the trailers.
It took me some thinking to work through it all. I'm like, wait, who are we referring to? We're hungry? That's a metaphor for when you kill people? Or, I don't know.
Yeah. And they showed another trailer from the ghost side of things, and like, ghosts never die.
That was so cheesy.
Yeah.
And at the very end of that display, the very last guy that said, he's like, what is your break point? I'm like, no, this is not. He just failed like measurably at that. So bad.
Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah. He had a cute dog on stage though.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a dog.
to say. Yeah, for some reason there was a dog on stage when John was giving a little speech to the crowd about the game.
Deal?
And he was just sitting there, laying there, looking around like, all right.
Is the dog a video game character or?
I don't know. It's Bam Bam the dog. He introduced his Bam Bam.
Yeah.
But he never said, if it's Ubisoft's good dog or something, or if maybe there's a
So
dog in
random.
the game. It was a little confusing, but I mean, it's cute, I guess.
Okay, so I love to make fun of stuff just for the comedic relief of it, but the name Cole D. Walker, like, can you have a more 5 o'clock shadow, manly, musky warrior name? Like, I mean, if you say it fast, it's Cold Walker.
Yeah.
And that's just like, oh.
That's too funny.
Know. I couldn't get past that.
I didn't even notice that at first. I'm glad you brought that up.
But in his super dramatic, heavily manly monologue, like, I'm trying to figure out who is fighting who. Are the ghosts the bad guys? They used to be good, and you're like the rebel, kind of like the rebels in the Star Wars, fighting the big, fighting the system.
No, it's the other way around, actually, I think.
Oh, I'm so twisted.
Yeah. But I guess it looks interesting from a Ghost Recon fan point of view, because Nate was all like, "What? That's crazy." If you say so, okay.
and that last video reveal was apparently for a Terminator DLC, I assume, for this game.
That's true. Yeah, they showed at the very end, we'll have some cool DLC for you guys like this, and then everything goes dark, and you see some embers flying up, and then I noticed like that music sounds familiar. 2 glowing red eyes shoot out in the darkness, and that's it. I'm like, oh, it's a Terminator. So they got Terminator DLC too.
I'm so ashamed. This went so over my head. Like, I heard the music, I was like, that sounds like something. And then the eyes, I'm like, oh, okay. So there's a guy in the game with glowing red eyes? Like, wow, that's a big letdown. What the heck was that stupid little, like, 10-second video? And then I find out, oh, okay.
Yeah, Terminator, more Terminator stuff. Makes me wonder, what other games are they going to show up in? Good grief.
Yeah. Well, Nate said there was a Predator DLC for the second game in the series, right? Or the first game?
I don't know. One of the mini games in the
and that's
Tom
pretty
Clancy
cool.
series. Yeah. So I guess
got Terminator.
Yeah. And not to mention, they advertised Tom Clancy's The Division Netflix movie.
Ooh, with Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh,
really? Oh my gosh.
Yep. So sexy.
Yeah. Did we know anything about that? Because I didn't.
That's
I don't
all
think
they
they
said.
really said much. Yeah.
No.
That's all.
From the sound of it, they don't even have any footage completed. So I don't. Who knows if they've even been shooting yet or filming?
Yeah. I don't know, but that's a thing too. So Ubisoft's got the TV stuff and the Netflix movie stuff covered. So it's weird.
Yep. More money for Tom Clancy.
Yep. And then, of course, they had their Just Dance that they do every year for Just Dance 2020. But I was actually a little excited, and it's kind of sad because the last dance they showed was this goofy dance called Skibbity by Little Big.
Oh my gosh.
And if you have not seen the music video for Skibbity, please go watch it because it's amazing.
Stop your life right now. Go watch it.
Like,
try to watch the whole thing. Try your hardest. You may not make it through.
I did it easily. So it shows something's wrong with me, I guess. I don't know.
You just can't stop watching.
It's so weird. It makes me want to learn to dance, but then I'm like, I'll be the biggest weirdo ever, but it's fine.
Please do a video of you and your sister doing that dance, please.
Oh my God. Dude, if I could get my sister to do this, it'd be like the biggest miracle ever. I know I could rope some of my friends into doing it very easily because they're the one that showed me that music video in the first place. And I remember it was like last year I saw that music video for the first time, and I said, "Man, this needs to be in the Just Dance game."
Oh wow!
And I called it.
All right, so you better be getting some royalties too. I'm getting royalties for the Mars game. You're getting money for that.
That's right. Ubisoft, send me an email.
We're gonna be rich.
Work it out.
Yeah, this song is like a really hokey, cheesy Bollywood dance, but like trying to be like a pop, hip hop version of a Bollywood dance. It's like a line dance. Like you can do it to any song.
Yeah, I guess.
You really can.
I never thought of that.
If you know it. It's like a line dance. You can do a line dance to any country song or really any song that's, roughly in that tempo.
But also one thing from that Just Dance thing that caught a lot of people's attention is that they're coming out with a Wii release for this, and a lot of people are like, what? Since they did so many other Just Dance games for the Wii, they still have the resources to just easily port it over. But the main reason why, and I saw this explanation posted like on Twitter like the next day, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense, is because a lot of retirement homes and physical therapy places use the Wii still as their way for getting people moving, and they're not going to switch over to like the Switch or anything. It's too much money. So yeah, they know that it helps a lot of people, so they continue making Just Dance games for the Wii.
There's
I don't know how long. Yeah.
They should just do like a seniors version and just do a bunch of old hits, you know?
Oh my
Wouldn't
gosh.
that be funny and great?
That would be awesome.
Like oldies songs and like old show tunes. Oh man, they'll go crazy. They
Dude,
love
they
that stuff.
totally should. Oh man, I'd buy it. Why not? So after Ubisoft, Square Enix did their conference. And of course, they showed the thing that I wanted to see so bad. It got me the most hyped out of anything else from E3. They showed
Yeah.
a ton of gameplay for Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII Remake.
Looks awesome.
It looks great so far.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. So they did away with the turn-based combat from the old game, which
Finally.
yeah, I don't mind that stuff too much, but I do like the real-time combat quite
Yeah.
a bit. And what they did is look like they did sort of a mix, because in this game you have an ATB gauge like you did in the
Mhm.
old game to show like, oh, you can take your turn now when that fills up. But instead of
Yeah.
like just taking your turn, that's your opportunity to like use a potion or use magic or a
Right.
special ability. So those
Is-
elements are still in there. It makes it neat.
And does that slows down time for you to do your options, or is that just some moves slows down time? Like I saw him slow down time a lot.
It looked like it slows down.
You can go through your
time.
menu and select things.
Right, which is very much appreciated because I cannot
Yeah.
think on my feet that fast.
Uh-huh.
There's no way.
Pretty
I
cool.
mean, yeah, they showed like the whole boss fight from the very beginning of the game, and the combat just looks so much fun.
Yeah.
And
And this game, I can't even grasp how big this game was when it came out. I mean, it still is like the RPG of all RPGs for 90s kids and up. Because it was just so like there's a lot of people's first intro to RPG, to anime games, things like that.
Yeah.
I did play it a little bit. I really tried. My best friend loved the game to death, as does everyone who's really played it. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. I just couldn't get into it because I was really into a different RPG at the time called Star Ocean 2, also by Square Enix. And
Right.
that game, I feel like it had like the good points of Final Fantasy VII, but like the things that I didn't like about Final Fantasy, like the turn-based fighting and other things, it had a better system. It had a real-time fighting. It had like 3D fighting, and I love that other game so much. I couldn't fall in love with Final Fantasy VII, but you know this game looks pretty awesome. So if I had the opportunity, I'd give it a chance.
Yeah. And man, there's so much content to this game that they said they have to have 2 full Blu-ray discs of game on it. I have not heard of that for any new console.
That's insane.
Like
I wonder
releases.
why. Maybe a lot of
Just so
cutscenes,
much.
or
I don't know. They just made the world that huge and that detailed or something.
Cool.
I don't know. But I mean, that sounds neat. I mean, just like back in the day, they had to have all those games on like 3 to 4 discs to be able to play. We're going back to that. And it's just crazy to think that we have to do that now in the Blu-ray era. It's crazy. And they showed Tifa in this whole trailer thing and got people freaking excited. I know. I didn't know Tifa was that huge of a deal. I mean, she's cool, but man, you got all the fanboys all excited.
I'm
which
down.
is pretty funny.
I'm down, guys.
Oh man, and Sephiroth was in this one, and he looks pretty cool. All the voice acting seems pretty decent, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm excited. And there's a release date. I believe it is in March of next year.
No.
So, I mean, at least it's finally got a release date. So
yeah, true.
Yay!
Yeah. I've been hearing talk about this game in general, like for about 2 years. I feel like maybe 3.
Yeah, I think their E3 release was like in 2015.
Yeah,
so it's been a bit. And another game that like really caught my eye, just because what they did with it just seems crazy to me. Okay, so Dragon Quest XI, I think, came out last year, and they're already coming out with a definitive edition for it.
What does that mean?
Just with extra content added onto it, I guess. Like if they had DLC or something added to the original game, they're just going to lump everything into one. That's usually what that means.
Okay.
It's like that is the version of the game you want if you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And the extra that they had is they turned the entire game into like a 16-bit version. Like there's an option to do that. Wow.
Is it 2D, like a platformer?
Yeah, it's not a platformer. It's like an old RPG sort of thing. Like when you think of the old Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy 4 and 6 on the SNES, it looks like that.
Man, so they had to redo everything, like make everything from scratch using the old, references. Wow.
Yeah, I would imagine they had to do everything from scratch, and that just seems crazy because this game is supposed to be really long too.
Yeah.
So they had a lot. They mentioned a lot of games during their conference, but nothing really jumped out at me. But they ended their conference with Marvel's Avengers.
Yay.
And I guess maybe they talked about this before, but this kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting this, honestly. And it's like a brand new storyline with most of the original Avengers cast, like from the first movie. But Hawkeye's missing, so I don't know what happened to him.
But Black Widow's present. So hold on a second. I mean, no spoilers, but I've heard a lot of ruckus about this video, mostly just due to the visuals of the characters. And I think it's kind of silly when you step back and look at the big picture of things. It's like, come on, guys, really? Are we going to really like trash this thing just because the faces on the CGI characters don't look like the actors?
Yeah, that's silly to me.
Yeah,
they're probably going more off comics, I guess, or just doing something original. Because this isn't licensed out by the movie or anything. I'm sure the movie.
It all comes down to licenses,
right? I'm sure the movie had their own game version of the movie, basically. Probably. So this is something entirely original, different storyline and everything like that.
There is some really cool, intriguing things with this game. So there's a 4-player online co-op. So you can go through these levels multiple times and kind of experience them in a different way with different characters, I assume. Not sure if there's alternate ways to get through a level, but definitely seems like strategy and teamwork comes into play here.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think it would be cool if you could assemble your team based on traits. So like kind of like when you play fantasy games, like you've got a team, you've got the healer, you've got the long range magician, you've got the short range fighter, the speed guy, the different traits that you kind of balance a team with. It'd be cool if you could do that with your Avengers team. I don't know if that's an aspect, but would be cool.
Yeah, not sure exactly what kind of turn they'll be taking for the combat. If they showed any showcases for the gameplay for that game, I didn't get to see any of that. They do a lot of that stuff.
I don't think they did. I did read that they're planning. This game is first of many, so they're going to do this is a series of games they're going to be making, which I think is great. If this one does good, if it's fun and playable, then that's great. Rock and roll. Let's make a whole bunch of them and do different stuff.
Yeah.
And this game is coming out for pretty much all the systems.
I believe so. Yeah, I think they said there's going to be extra content for the PS4 version for whatever reason. So
licensing,
I guess. I don't know.
When weird things happen, like the faces of the actors, or there's special stuff for one system than the other, we can all just rest assured and know that it's all because someone's making more money off of something.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it is. Or they just don't want to get sued, so they can't do this one thing. That's why weird stuff happens.
That's most likely what, But what's neat is they made it sound like there's going to be DLC for the game. And that they'll have extra characters be released that you can play as, nice. and they'll be free apparently.
And there's other alternate skins you can get, which I don't know if they actually bring different traits and benefits, but or if they're just for cosmetic reasons. But.
Yeah, a lot of times they're just cosmetic, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So Nintendo closed out E3 with their Nintendo Direct, and I really like how they did theirs. Even though it's pre-recorded, because they're just snappy and to the point, and it's half the length of all the other conferences, so I very much appreciated that when I was doing research.
Thanks, Nintendo. We're not wasting our time.
I know. It's pretty great. Let's see. So they opened up their conference with revealing a new Smash Ultimate character, and it's pretty great that they did this, considering everybody was wondering, okay, when are they going to release the new DLC characters? Because they promised 5 new characters for this year, and they had only released 1, and we were already halfway through the year. So they show that they were releasing the hero from Dragon Quest XI as DLC, and what's kind of neat is that he has alternate skins, and it's different heroes from previous Dragon Quest games, so it's basically a bunch of them all together in one. So that's different and pretty neat. And then they showed Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be on the Switch, and it looked really cool and really fun. I've never actually played a Luigi's Mansion game before, and seeing this just kind of made me want to actually give the series a try, since I own a Switch now and I can finally play it. And this one seems pretty neat because you can do co-op in the game, because they show that you can have an ectoplasmic version of Luigi come into being that's called Gooigi.
Oh my gosh.
In the game.
Great.
Yeah, in the game it shows you can use this other player by yourself and use him to help you solve puzzles, I guess that would normally take another player. and the other player can control Guigi. I don't know if you can do that throughout the whole game or just during different sections, but that's cool. I always enjoy it whenever co-op elements are in games. I like playing with other people. And there's also going to be like online multiplayer and co-op kind of sort of modes. So that's neat too.
Next up on the list that I had is Link's Awakening, the remake.
Yeah.
So this looks so cute and fun.
It
like
does.
the style is very plasticine, toy, almost puppety, kind of just cartoony. Yeah, really fun, fresh new style. This game, I was a little unfamiliar with it. I had to look it up, but Link's Awakening came out in 1993 on Game Boy.
Man, I didn't know it was that long ago, but I knew it was on Game Boy.
Wow. And the commercial for it was all done with puppets, like super low budget.
Did it really?
So maybe they're going for that, but the plasticine version. And yeah, so I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot else about this game. I mean, I don't know really what else to say. It's a remake, so.
But it looks gorgeous.
It does, yeah.
It's like chibi styled almost, and it looks super cute.
Doing this whole throwback thing back to 1993, thinking about the Game Boy games that I loved playing as a kid, man. I got curious. I was like, you know what? Like, how much space could those cartridges hold? So I looked it up, and for any of my techie nerds out there that also love games, you might like this. A Game Boy cartridge, it could originally hold 64 kilobytes to 1,000 kilobytes. It's a lot of space for back then. Almost a megabyte, yeah.
Man, one whole megabyte.
But to think, like, what now takes about 1 minute of music gave us hours of gameplay back then on a game. Like,
that is kind of crazy.
That's crazy. One of my favorite games on Nintendo 64 was Extreme G. It was a really fast-paced sci-fi race game with weapons. And the ROM itself, so the storage on the cartridge of the game was 6 megabytes.
Wow.
And I mean, I played that game for like a year or two.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Just throw that out there.
No, you're good. Took a lot less megabytes to keep us entertained back in the day.
Yeah, simpler times.
The next thing that caught my eye, and it's not because the game stands out by itself, but just because this is like the one cheesy thing that I saw, I think, throughout of E3, was this advertisement for the ports of Resident Evil 5 and 6 on the Switch. It was like I have to back up. First, they said when they were announcing the game that you can play the Switch anywhere. If you want to play like spooky games, you can just choose a spooky location or something like that.
Because people do that. Yeah,
of course they do. And then they cut to the trailer where it's like two teenagers who I guess break into some abandoned house. And they like try the light switches and like no power. Okay, perfect. And then they go over
perfectly spooky.
So they go over to the couch, put the Switch on like the coffee table, and they're playing like the Resident Evil remake that came out on the GameCube because that's on the Switch too, apparently. So they're like, oh my gosh.
You're the girl.
Reacting
the girl's killing
me. And then, like, the tension builds more and more. And then they look around the house and see how spooky everything is, and close-ups of spooky objects in the house. And then they run out screaming.
So up to the point where they got the game out, I thought this was a trailer for the game. I was like,
that's what I thought cool. too.
Like, urban explorers, they go into a house, they get locked in there, there's zombies in there. I'm like, oh man, what a letdown. This is a dumb commercial. It's like so 90s. Like, what a 90s type of commercial,
It really was. And that's
super 90s.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe that's what they went for, just because the Resident Evil, like the original, is so super cheesy and stuff like that.
There you go.
Maybe, but yeah, that just caught my eye. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is so dumb. Anyway, moving on from that, then they showed announcement for No More Heroes 3, and I know people love that series, so people are super stoked for that. Woo! But it's not my sort of thing. It's too bloody and stuff for me, but hey, kudos for you guys for getting that game. That's neat. Game caught my eye, and I didn't think it would because I think I saw an announcement last year, and it wasn't really much of an announcement. They just kind of showed like a few clips, but this time they showed more gameplay. It's for Astral Chain, and it's made by Platinum Games, and they're known for doing some games that are just crazy to play, like crazy fun gameplay, rack up combos, do ridiculous moves, crazy action set pieces, all that stuff.
What kind of game is this? I've never heard of it.
So Astral Chain is, I think, set like in a sci-fi futuristic.
Of course it is.
Of course,
everything is now.
and humanity's like under attack by interdimensional beings
Ooh.
that like show up in portals, and I guess they drag
Okay.
like people to their
That's
side of
different.
things. Yeah, it seemed like really spooky but very cool. And I
Yeah.
guess you're playing as a member of the special police task force, and they came up with a technology called legions, and basically like they're able to take control of those interdimensional monster things and have them be on
Hmm.
your side. So you're
Oh,
fighting
nice.
alongside with this like robotic, organic sort of monster, and you're
Ooh, I'm
both
gonna look
like,
this up.
yeah, you should. You should check out the gameplay because it looks crazy fun to me, and just like the settings, kind of different than what I normally play. So yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on how that does. And it's made by Platinum, so like I said, they're made for really good games like the Bayonetta series, Metal Gear Rising.
Ooh,
They
that's a
made
cool one.
even like before they were Platinum, they were another series called developer called Clover, and they made Okami, which is my favorite game. So
Yeah.
one of my most look forward to games for E3. Basically, they finally showed something for it. Animal Crossing New Horizons for the Switch. I love Animal Crossing. I've played the original on the GameCube and I've played the 3DS version a lot. So I love just the simple cutesy thing it's got going for it. I like just being able to talk to the villagers and pay off loans on my house because that's good
Oh, that's so
gameplay right
exciting.
there.
I love to escape from real life where I have to pay off my house so I can pay off my
Mhm.
house in a digital world.
I know, it's so weird to think, like, why do I like this series?
Isn't that
Because it's
silly?
just so bizarre. But this one is so different because you're starting off on like a deserted island, and it's almost starting out like a survival sort of game. Like you have to go find resources on the island and craft like basic tools like axes and shovels, and then
Yeah.
just kind of build up things from there. And I don't
Hmm.
know because like that's so different from how the games normally are, where you start off like in a small town filled with other like animal villagers, and you just kind of integrate yourself into what they got going on. But this time it looks like it's
Hmm.
almost deserted. But then they cut to more gameplay stuff, like in little snippets here and there, and then it seems like there are going to be villagers, but it didn't look like it's the island as much anymore. So I
It's
don't
a
know if it upgrades.
post-apocalyptic
I don't
Animal
know
Crossing.
if you just like build up
in a
society.
gritty future
Oh my gosh.
where poachers have invaded the Animal Crossing
no.
universe.
No. Oh man, that'd be unfortunately. This game was supposed to come out later this year, but then they pushed it to March 2020, and that's made some people upset and fortunate.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have a good game than no game at all. So I'm happy. I'm just happy to see footage. So woo. And then Nintendo showed what everybody has been clamoring for in Smash Ultimate. They showed yet another DLC character coming out, and it's Banjo-Kazooie. They've been wanting that for so long. I've seen people ask for it for like last couple Smash games. So finally, don't have to see people asking for this anymore. They got it. It's coming out in the fall, unfortunately, so they gotta wait. But yeah, Banjo-Kazooie's in Smash, and then they close out the show with showing some. Okay, this kind of threw me off a little bit, but they showed some Breath of the Wild footage, right? So they have
Yeah.
Link and Zelda walking into a dungeon, and they see this almost like really macabre scene. It was really freaky looking, where it's like this massive corpse looking figure, like no skin, just like a muscle structure, almost like what you see in Attack on Titan or something. Like laying like
crossover.
Yeah, like almost doing like a backwards bend, and there's this other hand that's attached to it that's glowing and white. When you zoom in on the corpse, it's got very long red hair. And
what is it, Star Wars? Come on, let's move on.
He gets reincarnated too, just like Link and Zelda do in the series.
How convenient.
But yeah, so like Link and Zelda are looking at this thing, and then all of a sudden his neck like snaps to the side and like stares them, and glowing red eyes and mouth agape and everything. And it's just very, very freaky looking.
Freaky.
It almost gives me like Majora's Mask feels, like with how dark this thing is, because I don't know, it doesn't look as happy as some of the other Breath of the Wild stuff I've seen and bright. But then, so I was thinking when I was watching this, like, is this DLC for Breath of the Wild? 'Cause I think they've done that. But then no, it fades to black. It says the Breath of the Wild sequel is now in development.
I saw the funniest video today. So it's a speed run of Breath of the Wild, but it's animated. So it's not gameplay, but it's just like a funny in your face, like just super extra animated video of like a 4-minute run through the game. And he's just like stealing the things here, jumping across the land here to do this and smashes through this wall. It's so funny and just crazy.
That's great. Normally they only come out with one main Zelda game per console. So the fact that we get another one, especially on the scale of how big Breath of the Wild is, how long
So
it took
big.
to make, like, good grief.
I think it's the biggest digital map, right? Or is that Red Dead Redemption?
Maybe it's Red Dead now. I don't know. I
Yeah,
remember
maybe
when
now.
Breath of the Wild came out or was being advertised, they said it's like 7 times bigger than Skyrim's world. I'm like, that's a lot. Pretty good
Cool.
E3 in my opinion. I think it was better than last year's.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for kind of leading these episodes and doing all that research. We really appreciate it. I think
No
this is a great one.
problem. I enjoy doing it.
Well, everyone out there listening, we'd love to hear from you guys. What games were you most excited about? Were there any super cringy moments that we missed? Anything funny or laugh-worthy? Let us know on any of our social media posts, mostly on Facebook, but we also post on Instagram and YouTube. Well, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. If you like this show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, you can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I know it's a video game, and I just have a hard time looking at video games in like 60 frames per second. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Let me move my dogs from attacking each other for fun.
Well, then.
Little battle royale with the dogs.
That's so funny.